climate emergencies are not gender neutral. The degradation of ecosystems disproportionately impacts women and girls. And I am wildly emotional. I want to start off by addressing one of the comments that was made by the witnesses around climate hysterics. Hysteria, it refers to something that is wildly emotional. It comes from the Greek word womb, of the womb. It is used in ancient Greek to refer to things associated with women. And I hope you'll forgive me if I get emotional. Climate emergencies are not gender neutral. The degradation of ecosystems disproportionately impacts women and girls. And I am wildly emotional. This is the existential crisis of our time. And to hear that we're asking for high ambition is climate hysteria, that makes me wildly emotional. Absolutely. You know, when I think about my womb, you know, the 2 children that I bore from that womb and what future we are leaving them, I am wildly emotional. And it's not surprising to hear this from someone who has written articles that are pro-life. I think that we need to think about the intersection of gender and the climate crisis. And I hope that the people around this table and the people listening will refrain from using language like climate hysteria. We are facing a climate emergency.
That was Canadian MP Laurel Collins talking about the sexist weather. And something that should not come as a surprise to you, Collins also likes to talk about environmental racism.
The reality is that environmental racism continues to impact communities, and often their voices are not heard by policymakers.
So I'm not exactly sure whether she's saying that climate change is sexist or if it's racist. Although as a leftist, she would probably say both. But in honor of climate bigotry, here's some clips where people explain how the climate affects only non-white males.
We also know that communities of color are the ones hardest hit by pollution and inequality. With targeted investments, inclusive job training and education, and high-quality green jobs, the Green New Deal puts justice and equity at the center of climate action.
So this problem of environmental racism is personal. Literally the people least responsible for creating climate change, Black, Indigenous, people of color. My name is Elizabeth Jean-Pierre, and this is my brief but spectacular take on climate justice.
When we take a step back and look at whose voices are we hearing on the climate crisis, the data tells us that we meaning the public, are mostly hearing from white men, and we absolutely need them on the team. But when we look at polling data, it's actually people of color and women who are the most concerned about climate change and ready to engage. They're also disproportionately affected by climate impacts. So we've got a mismatch.
People are talking about environmental justice. The reason we've won all these fights, the reasons that I've been successful in climate is I start with environmental justice. You want to deal with climate, people think it's a science issue. It's a human issue with a huge racial overtone.
Hello, I'm Admiral Rachel Levine. This Black History Month, I'm pleased to partner with OMH in advancing better health through better understanding for Black communities. Climate change is having a disproportionate effect on the physical and mental health of Black communities. Black Americans are more likely than white Americans to live in areas and housing that increase their susceptibility to climate-related health issues. And 65% of Black Americans report feeling anxious about climate change's impact. Through our Office of Climate Change and Health Equity and the Office of Environmental Justice, we're working with providers and community leaders to identify innovative approaches that empower communities to address the health consequences linked to climate change.
To your point, for young people, and particularly in the culture, the climate crisis is critical. They see this as a two-edged sword. They see it as climate justice is racial justice, and racial justice is climate justice. And so the one thing that we want more than anything is to solve the climate crisis. We know that particularly Black, brown, and indigenous people are the ones who are most impacted by the climate crisis.
What, do you buy this, Hotep? Yeah, climate change is racist. I walked out the house the other day and the cloud called me. I said, terrible.
I think that's a first. I think that's a first.
But I said, joke's on you. I didn't vote for Biden. I ain't black.
Oh.
Oh, God.